I want to talk about canteens, metal versus plastic. I know the U.S. military, probably all the other militaries came out with these. Drop it in the cup here. Plastic canteens because they don't dent, right, for one. But I don't like them, to tell you the truth, because, well, the other reason, too, they came out with them is they don't have that metal taste in your mouth. Plus, or maybe a hair lighter. But I don't like them because they can't take any kind of fire. The theory is you're supposed to take whatever's in here and you're going to put this on the fire, and it's because you got their canteen cup, right? Well, I personally don't really like that, to tell you the truth. I'd rather have the canteen metal. Now, the one disadvantage to the canteen being metal is that you can dent it up. And this is not a mil-spec canteen, it's pretty well dented. But you can undent them. And the way I did it was I put compressed air in it. I'll show you what I did real quick. There's a couple things you could do, and I'm actually going to tell you a couple other things on how you can repair canteens real easy, even if you got a hole in them and it's metal. Actually, this canteen was even more crushed than this, and this is a real light duty one. This is not just some commercial, not mil-spec. And if you got mil-spec aluminum canteen today, it would probably be from the 1940s. But I turned my air compressor on. Not too much pressure. You don't want to put like 150 pounds of pressure in your canteen. And put this nozzle in here. Put my hand over it like that. And I just put some air into it. And this was all crushed down and popped out real easy. You don't need a lot of pressure to do that, and don't go trying to put in 100 pounds in there or something, because just use your hand to hold over it, because I could probably get more of this out, but then I don't want to make a split in there someplace else by using too much pressure. But if you get a dent in your canteen where it's pretty well crushed up, just take an air compressor, put the nozzle in there with your hand. Doesn't have to be a perfect seal, not real high pressure, like 40-50 pounds. Give it a shot of air and it'll pop out. Then that'll get most of your water capacity back again. So that's a big disadvantage of a metal canteen. If you sit on it or something, or I don't know, whatever, some step on it. But you can throw these in a fire. You can put them over a flame. I could have this sitting over a flame and sterilizing the water in it. Even if I don't bring it up to a rapid boil, I could still get most of the crap out of the water and get it mostly disinfected without putting it in a cup and then putting it back in. Like, I can disinfect what's in the canteen water while it's there, while it's in the canteen, if I use a fire, right? If you use fire. I don't like these damn plastic canteens, to tell you the truth. They're a bigger disadvantage than an advantage. Now, I talked about, sterilizing the water with some fire, just boiling the water up a little bit while the water's in the canteen. Now, you can't do that with a plastic canteen because it'll melt, but what you could do is take some pull shock with you. You don't need to take a big thing like this, because a very, very small amount does a lot. This is calcium hypochlorite. Mixture is 68% inert ingredients. Okay. Chlorine bleach will pretty much purify water. I mean, there's a little formula to doing it. This is much better. The Marine Corps uses calcium hypochlorite in the field to purify, make water potable again. It's drinkable. What I do is, like, I always leave this war belt ready with ammo, M7 bayonet, first aid kit, and water in the canteens at all times. So the water would be sitting in there for months, maybe even a couple of years. But there's a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of pull shock in there, and I'm talking tiny amount. As a matter of fact, you just put that much, like wiped down my finger, you poured the water in it, and that just ran off my finger, and you went into there. That'd be way more than enough keep microbes out for, actually that's enough to freaking even kill some of the microbes in your body if you drank the stuff. It's actually too much. I don't actually go by the exact formula, I go by eyeball, but I know that stuff is real super powerful, and you're supposed to actually make a mixture in water. Then after you make that mixture, you're supposed to use so much of that in the water to be treated. So when I'm just putting a little bit on my finger like that, that's a lot to be putting in one canteen. You could actually taste it, but it's not enough to hurt you, and it's strong enough to disinfect the hell out of the water, no matter how old it is, and it'll actually kill germs in your gut if you're out in the field. Now, one advantage to a plastic canteen is that you can repair it with epoxy because it's plastic, right? So how do you repair an aluminum canteen or a metal canteen? Well, you got stuff like this. JB Weld, Water Weld, world's strongest bond. It's like a stick. You just mix it up. It'll repair copper, brass, aluminum. You could do that. And what I do to prepare the surface is you sand it down. Say there was a split down here. There was a tear. I wouldn't throw this away. I'd sand it down with this. I always use this cheap engine starting fluid because it gets things very, very chemically clean, and it's cheap. It's like $2, and you'll be using maybe 10 cents worth of the can to clean this off with a paper towel after sanding it down. Then push this junk right into the tiny little split or have it gooped up around the edge, and you got a very solid repair. So that was one of the big disadvantages of the metal canteens. If they they could split easier or something, but I don't really like them because you can't put this. I can't put some water in here, open up the top, and then let it boil up a little bit in the fire, and then let it cool down and drink it, and I know the water's good because I'll melt the canteen. You're supposed to put it in a cup. I'm like, get the hell out of here, man. I'd rather, it's easier if you got a few canteens, just stick them in the fire, let them get boiled for a while, and you're freaking good. You got this thing, you just stick it on a low flame, start steaming up and boiling in here, the water's good. The alternative way is this stuff. And you can keep, like a little tiny container. I mean, if you had, like the stuff the 35 millimeter film comes in, those little plastic things, you had that much of it, God, that'd be enough to treat like hundreds of gallons of water with this stuff, that stuff. And you know how much this cost? I think a pound of it's like $3. And it'll, if you let it works way better and it's a lot safer than regular bleach by far. But there's a certain formula you're supposed to use. I actually don't use the formula because I have a roundabout idea how much to put in there. I always put just a little bit extra. Reason I do that is because this stuff is also known as miracle mineral solution 2. You probably heard that guy was going around, he got in trouble for curing diseases using this junk, and they called him a quack. Well, it does actually knock out a lot of the bad microbes in your gut. You got to watch though, you can't take too much of it. But I put a little extra in there, more than enough to purify the water. So when you drink it, it's killing some of the bad microbes in your gut. And your gut is 80 to 90% of your immune system. Now, the other thing to watch for with canteens, you notice this thing is not a mil-spec anything. I don't know what the heck this thing is. I had it for 50 years. It's pretty worn out, but it works still. There's no insulation on it. So this canteen will get hot or freeze up very easily because there's no insulation. Here you got mil-spec insulation with your canteen. So if you put hot coffee in this damn thing, it would stay hotter longer, and it would also stay hotter longer because it's plastic, and plastic is a better insulator than this. But still, like I said, if you want to make instant coffee with your canteen, again, you just pour it in there, like from your MRE, or like, the American meals ready to eat. You pour it in there, you pour the water on it, you shake it up, you stick this, you can't put this one over the fire, you can put this one over the fire, boil it up, and you got hot coffee. Or if you're like me, which I was known to be a little crazy for doing this, I used to get the caffeine hits, and I used to take the MRE coffee packages, the instant coffee, and just swallow the powder whole, just the powder, and swig it down with some water. So I'd be wired up on caffeine. I'd be going like, Robotiller or something. That's what I did, man. But again, you could fix these real easy. You don't need to I would not recommend using some kind of JB Weld. JB Weld would probably work, 3M part number. But this stuff is really made for it. This stuff is pretty good. You put this on a leak, like a leak that's going on right now. So you had a big metal aluminum drum or something, and it was full of water, and it started to leak. You can put this on while it's leaking, and it'll stop the leak. Good stuff, man. But I'm really kind of like old school, and a lot of things are just sold to the military because they got to have a new contract. I've never been a fan of these damn aluminum canteens. They could have made, these plastic canteens. They could have made the aluminum maybe a little bit better alloy that they didn't crush as easily, and maybe a little bit lighter, and that would have been way better than that. Because to me, it's extremely important that you could put that canteen in the fire and disinfect the water, or heat it up, or de-thaw a frozen canteen. That's another thing too. You got to watch if this freezes up. You're trying to drink it. You got to heat it up. You got to watch how fast you heat it up, because you can melt the canteen on the outside, right? Anyway, I'm not in charge of the military, so that's the military-industrial complex. They're joined at the hip, and they're real quick to spend taxpayers' money versus do the right thing. And actually, the right thing is that this is not a very good example of an aluminum canteen, because this is an aftermarket civilian version, and it holds 2 quarts versus 1, almost 2 quarts versus 1, almost 2 quarts because it's dented. But it's nice because it's easy to heat up. It works like a little tea kettle. That's what I used to like about it. And you can't try sticking this over a flame. Goodbye canteen. That's why they give you this. And I'm thinking, well, you wouldn't really need this too much. Well, you would need this if you put beans in it or something. You make some stuff out of your MREs, but I don't know. Sorry, I'm kind of bitching about this because it's making me kind of mad about some of the shit I remember they don't do right. But anyway, onward and forward, and remember the Confederacy, because the Confederacy was about independence. Real independence. Just want to throw that here on the end. I know YouTube don't like that too much because they're corporate too. You know how they are. But I'm an independent guy, That's the way it is.